Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host,
Grandma Gail.
Grandma, do you know what episode number this is?
I don't know. It seems like it's 190, but what's the actual number?
Episode 18.
Very exciting. Everybody's loving them. People are stopping me on the street. I can't get over it. I've become a star of my neighborhood.
Well, right. In your neighborhood on Upper East, people are stopping you the same way as maybe some places in the Hamptons, in Palm Beach, etc. But like anywhere else.
No one knows me outside of New York, outside of my little immediate shopping area. I mean,
do you think the celeb life is fitting for you?
I like it.
You like the attention?
I like it. I even went to the skin doctor and they were listening. The nurses were all listening to the podcasts. I felt like a star. But they didn't give me any discount.
I've gotten discounts from doctors.
Oh, because they know you're the producer.
Maybe. Do you have a favorite episode that we've done so far?
I don't know. I think the one on The Bachelor I really thought was fun.
Interesting.
Because
I thought you were going to say that was like your least favorite.
No, I'm getting to think that was my favorite because I have a platform of being able to criticize something that I really feel strongly about.
I think you have that platform all the time. You can criticize whatever you want. You usually don't feel like you have a filter anyway.
No, I'm not holding back. But this actually, I thought, really got my gander up. And I listened to a little bit of it this week.
Okay.
And it solidified my realization that I really think the show is not up to par. I mean, I think it really is falling down. It might have been wonderful in the beginning. I didn't watch those. But the guys were in the mud, slopping around, trying to prove their masculinity. I have no idea what they're doing. And she's so unbelievable that I finally had to turn her off and put on another channel. It was too much. The only thing I really liked about the whole chapter was her sequin blouse. I thought that was very pretty on the dress, the sequin underneath.
I know what you're
at
talking
the final
about.
moment.
Yeah,
when she was giving some guy a rose. With that, after I saw that, I was just thinking, where'd you get that outfit? That was cool for you.
I know they should tag where they got the outfits from because I feel like a lot of people would copy these.
I think for her, yes, the guys' outfits were awful. I mean,
there's always like 10 guys in a salmon-colored suit.
It was awful. It was just beyond terrible.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go on.
Well, we'll be able to discuss it further because some upcoming guests we have are part of Bachelor Nation,
which should be really exciting.
Some previous bachelors and bachelorettes.
And it should be interesting to hear their take on what's happening without the host. Because
without Chris Harrison.
I think that's going to be a big thing because I don't think without a really good host that the show really doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to what we're going to really talk about this week.
Well, summer is here,
which I love, and the weather's been beautiful.
And COVID restrictions are lifting. In New York City, we can do a lot of things without a mask, walking to a lot of different stores, manicurists, restaurants, whatever it may be, which is really exciting. And it's making a lot of people think about traveling again.
Right, absolutely. I heard, actually, I think the flights are back up to almost 2019 levels. Yeah. And a friend of mine just called me from Mykonos, said it's great. Restaurants are full of Americans. So I guess people have just had it. They feel, once they've had the vaccine, they feel relatively safe and are going to go live their lives. We had a year of a lockdown. It's enough.
Well, what do you think will be the most popular trips for people to take? Because I've heard a lot of Greece.
Well, Greece, because I think Greece is certainly because it's an island and they seem to have done a pretty good job.
They were one of the first ones open too.
Yeah. And I don't know about Israel. I know Israel is really fully vaccinated. France is all open. London pulled back this week, so maybe they're having a little problem with one of the variants.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people doing like Amalfi, like Italy.
I think America is going to be where we're going to go this summer. I think Utah, the parks, California. California's all open, and which is
I've heard
exciting.
like some Newport, Charleston, like.
Which are great cities and fun to go to. If I was like 25 and I love to drive, I think I'd take a trip cross country.
Really,
it would be so neat and do all the great parks and see America. See America first. I think it's really could be my slogan this summer.
Oh no. Well, yeah, I think that people are also talking about planning their trips and whether or not they're going to go with a significant other, with friends, whatever it is. An interesting thing I wanted, I guess, to discuss is when is it okay to take a trip with somebody that you're seeing? Can it be after a week? Can it be after 3 months? Or do you have to wait like a year until you're really secure in it?
A year, forget. A year in your life is too long for anything. But I think knowing somebody well enough to be comfortable about going to a hotel and I'm sure sharing a room. So
Right.
it can't be 2 dates. It can't be 6 dates. It has to be a couple of months of going out.
But do you have to be boyfriend and girlfriend, or can it just be someone you're seeing?
Oh, this is our same discussion again.
I know.
I can't go through that.
I hate to bring it up every time. I just am thinking about the people that I talk to because I see friends every day, and I try to do my research for this podcast. And I was with a bunch of girls last night, and they all have different thoughts about it. I guess there's one girlfriend was telling me that there's a big group of girls and guys going on a vacation.
Well, that's fine. It's
Europe.
a group thing. I think it's perfect. That's cool. I mean, that's been time in memoriam where people rented houses together, people went away together, and now I guess they have all these shares that you can do as a group. But a one-on-one is different than a group. A group, if you know somebody a week and there's a whole group going, why not have a good time and go? I mean, you're not little kids anymore. You're not teenagers, and you all certainly practice safe sex. So that's not the point when you're on a group trip. I think it's the one-on-one that becomes a little tricky unless you have a relationship with somebody that says, you know what, let's just go away together. We love being together. We're not serious yet, but let's have a good time. I could see that after maybe 8 or 9 dates or 10
Right.
dates.
Right.
You have to know you have common interests. You can't go traipsing across to the Grand Canyon and find out one doesn't want to go on a mule. I mean, so you really need to know the likes and dislikes of the person.
Would that be
you're
a deal
traveling
breaker
with.
if they wanted to go on a mule and you didn't? Like,
Well,
you know what I mean?
It
It doesn't
certainly ruined
matter.
the Grand Canyon for me. And that's the greatest sight in the world for me. I mean, to look out and see that is like being in another world.
Yeah, I think it can make or break.
Yeah. I think that would
people
be
say
a
that
deal
all the
breaker.
time.
If
No,
somebody doesn't want to swim in a pool.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying a vacation with somebody can make or break the relationship.
Well, it certainly could break it.
Yeah. Just
Because-
because so much time with one person.
And if you don't like the same
Right.
things, then it certainly could break it.
Yeah. You see them, all of their habits and the way that they act. when
And
they're-
your habits, whether
Yeah.
you pick up your clothes at night or whether you throw the towel on the
Are
floor.
you looking around the room because it's a little messy?
No, it's not messy at all. It's
I'm
beautiful.
so
You're very
organized.
organized. You're very, very downtown chic.
Oh,
so
thanks.
you're good. But I'm saying when you're going into especially if you're sharing a room, naturally, if you have your own rooms and that's the kind of situation, that's different.
Yeah.
But if you're
Well, I
sharing
don't think you would do
rooms-
that with.
No, I think you probably would share it, and so that you have to respect each other's bathroom habits,
Yeah.
eating habits.
So this is funny. So I was with people last night, and this girl was telling this story about a friend of hers who was dating a guy from a very rich family in New York, and they were only dating for 2 or 3 months, and he was like, let's hop on the PJ and go down to the Bahamas with my entire family. And she went, private jet.
Okay, all right.
And the brother of the guy also did it and was someone they were only dating for a certain amount of time, and then they ended things like really quickly after. But it's like,
well, that's too bad. Then they weren't meant to be.
yeah, but
Sometimes it could have been for
taking
the
someone on a
positive.
family vacation, like, I mean, I don't know. I understand why she said yes. I guess that seems really like,
Well, I think if the family sometimes has a house someplace, a vacation house, and it all arises and you're all friends, it does put pressure on the relationship because you're adding now in brothers, you're adding in sisters, you're adding in mother and father. I wouldn't do that. To me, that's the kiss of death.
but I think we talked about this maybe with Lindsay Metzelar. We met at Acme on that episode of, I don't think you should take a trip with the person's family if you haven't done a trip with them alone first.
I think that's a good rule.
Yeah.
I think that is a good rule, and I certainly wouldn't do it. I mean, it only works if you've grown up with somebody and it's family friends and you really know the people and they say, come on, we're going down there. Then, you've had a long history together, even if you're not boyfriend and girlfriend. But when you're just going out a few times and then you put in all these other ingredients, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say boyfriend and girlfriend or girlfriend, boyfriend, you and your partner are trying to plan a trip. And one person, maybe I've heard this from a lot of friends, like their partner's financial situation is different than their own and they just either like can't agree on a trip or one person just doesn't want to take a trip at all. And it's like, well, I want to do something together. I want to go someplace. Like, what do you do in that situation?
Well, I think that's very common.
Yeah.
And I think that's something you have to be considerate of. If somebody cannot afford the same kind of trip that you would like to go on, then you have to change the location and go where the person your partner feels comfortable going. You don't necessarily have to have a great trip someplace that's expensive. You could go to one of the local shore areas and maybe go to a cute little motel in that area or a bungalow or go into a timeshare house with other people, so it cuts the cost down. What's the thing they call now? Airbnb.
Yeah,
I mean, they're all accommodations. If you like someone enough, you shouldn't put pressure on them to do something that is out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Comfort zone is very important.
And if it's like somebody who is like, I just can't do it and I need to go on a really fancy vacation, then it's like you're probably not dating the right person.
Exactly. Then you're not going out with the right person.
Yeah.
Then you have to just, say goodbye, because everybody has to respect the other person's financial situation, work schedule.
Or what if, tell me if this is bad, but it's like, okay, my partner doesn't want to take a trip, like I'll do one with my friends instead. Like that's fine, right?
Well, I think it's only fine if he's tied up in business. If he's not tied up with something, or she's not tied up with something that she's doing for her career, and he's just going to sit home alone, then no, I don't think it's acceptable. When you're in your 20s and 30s, you should be doing things as a couple. If you're in a relationship, if you're not in a relationship, then you can do whatever you want. See, there are all kinds of stages.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think you have to first you have to be loyal to your partner. And then if your partner says, you know what, I'm so tied up with work for the next 10 days, you know what, why don't you do something with some friends?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind at all. And
I'm just wondering, though, I don't know if that's necessarily fair. So you can never just take a trip with your friends if your partner's not tied up? Because, like,
oh, yes, I think you can, but it has
you,
to be agreed.
First of all, you
I do it all the time.
time.
But I do it just once a year with a group of girls. We go on an art trip.
Yeah.
We love it. We have a great relationship. But don't forget, these are women who
have been with them for a long time.
We've been with our partners for at least 40 to 55 years.
Yeah.
And
you're like, let's extend the trip a little. Let's like
exactly. Well, at that point, we're all looking to extend the trip.
Right.
But the truth is, we did a trip 2 years ago to Milan and Rome right before COVID. Mm-hmm. And we didn't know COVID was right where we were. And it really, when we look back on it, I was actually talking to some of the girls yesterday who were on the trip with me, and we were walking around Rome and Milan like nothing was happening.
Yeah, well, we didn't know.
And we didn't know. So we were all very lucky because we're all on an age, and that nobody got sick was terrific. But I think that's a different stage in your life. We're not talking about young people. We're not talking about millennials. We're not talking about people in their 30s who are starting out in life. Then if you're starting out, you should have some desire to do it with the people you're going with, mm-hmm. and your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I'm just trying to think, because like I was going to maybe do a trip this summer with some of my girlfriends that I met down in Palm Beach, and some of them are in relationships. So
but I don't think any of them are really in serious.
Yes.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Well,
one lives with her boyfriend.
Well, but her boyfriend works all the time. Yeah. I know that young girl. She's lovely. He's very, very busy with his job, and he probably says, please go for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He works 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
That's the situation I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you have a situation where either the woman or the man is constantly working, I mean, many young lawyers starting today work till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. They
mm-hmm.
have no life. So I think for those people who are partnering with them, yes, you can take a break.
Right. Do you believe in taking, like, when you're taking a girls trip, like you know, the idea of like a singles trip versus just like a trip with your friends. I'm talking this out as I'm thinking about it, but like, you know, I think some trips the goal is like to be single and party, and like maybe that trip is more like a Mykonos, Ibiza, Vegas.
More like the Housewives.
Housewives, The Hangover.
Exactly, Hangover. You know what, Kimmy? That, to me, that's fine. I also think that's very college.
But that also has to be pretty much only single people doing that trip. Like, I wouldn't want to be the girl with a boyfriend on that trip.
No, you could. No, absolutely not. You have to, because then that would get back to him and he would be hurt, or she would be hurt. That I agree with you on. But I also think you have to realize.
Oh, let's be clear.
Like
no, I would do it. My boyfriend never would be allowed to. I'm allowed to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's a dual.
Standard. You can do, girls, do anything you want to do. You can get away with it, guys. Keep it in your pants.
Well, that's for sure. That's for sure. And the girls shouldn't get away with it either.
No, I know, I'm joking. So I was trying to think about like good trips to recommend to people. What were some family trips we've taken together that we enjoyed?
Oh, I think, well, I loved going to Israel and Rome. We got dressed up in all kinds of costumes outside the Coliseum. We had a hoot. We loved.
It was kind of a weird trip to do together.
No, Israel and Rome were so easy. The flights were easy. It wasn't that it was the. That's, I think, how we got to Rome, and it was also in the middle of the winter. The most wonderful trip that I can recommend to anybody is going, but I wouldn't do it right now. Is Morocco.
I know, I want to.
It's terrific. It's such a different culture, and the food is so wonderful. People are so nice. I'm not sure I'd go anywhere like that right now till we're all vaccinated. I think I would stay pretty much in a safe area.
Yeah.
And I seriously think that the local things are great. New Jersey is great. There are lots of shores out there that are beautiful.
But I'm trying to think like any trips we've gone like with funny stories we could tell.
Many years ago. This is, oh my gosh, we're dating
What
ourselves.
year?
Probably in the early 70s. They didn't have chairs at a very exclusive club in the south of France. You used to lie on mats. You used to have to rent the mats for $60, which was 60 euros, which is in those days was probably $100 now. But whatever it was ridiculous. And we'd all lie around this beautiful pool area on these mats. And we'd read under an umbrella, and you'd have a drink and whatever. I was in my 40s. I loved a glass of wine, and we would have a champagne cocktail at 4 or 5 o'clock. And for some reason, you were assigned a certain area. And one area, this gentleman who happened to be somebody very famous today, I'm not going to even discuss who it is, they were so close to us.
Wait, I didn't even know that.
Oh, yeah. No, he was a big
We'll talk about it offline.
We'll talk about it afterwards. But anyway, he and his friend and the two wives were sitting literally on top of us. And every time we'd have a conversation, my other friend and I, he would be sitting right there listening. And finally, I couldn't take it. I think about the third day in, I said, not so close. And the people we were with just cracked up. They couldn't get over it.
And now, like, anytime we're in a space where someone's, like, in our area, we'll be like, not so close.
And it was the time and the place. You had to be. It was one of those things you had to be.
Yeah, so funny.
But I think if I'd recommend a short weekend, now I would go out to the Hamptons and go out to Montauk. See if you could get into one of the little places out there. It's great water sports and fun restaurants for young people.
What do you say to people who are like, the Hamptons is bougie and not my scene?
Well, then, all right. So that's not so terrible. I used to think the same thing. What about going to Brewster or upstate
But what
New
do you think
York?
people who say that like mean it, or it's like
I think some people don't want to deal with the traffic. I think traffic and restaurants
getting
out
in
there
places, it is expensive, like most things.
Yeah, I think, well, unfortunately, everything is expensive today. Except for a barbecue in your own backyard. So I think you have a certain price that they're going to charge you in these places, and there are lots of different lodges out there that go from very, very expensive to moderate.
Yeah.
I mean, Gurney's Inn now is astronomical. It's the same as going to Europe or Topping Rose, but you don't have to go to those places. There's some little bed and breakfasts out there that are charged. Basically, it has to be somebody that wants to sun and surf. You're not seeing anything historical out there.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to do a sightseeing trip, the Hamptons is not for you. Then you have to do something else.
If you want to drink Whispering Angel,
well, then
the Hamptons is for you.
Then it's for you.
Sponsor us.
Exactly.
Okay, so do you want to do some listener questions?
Okay, that sounds great.
Some person wrote in and said that they are going to stay with their girlfriend's parents for the weekend, and what they should bring for a house gift.
Well, I'll tell you what. Somebody sent Poppy and I once, which was the greatest gift. There's a app or a site called Goldbellies. I don't know. They should advertise with us. That sends all different things from lobsters to whoopie pies to salmon and bagels and anything you could, ice cream from, I don't know, the Midwest. It's a great source of fun things, and you can almost get a package. It all comes frozen to the and delivered to the door. That's fun. I also think you can't send too many, fruits and vegetables, because that, especially in the Hamptons, they have so many farms. That's not really a particularly great gift. But I also think if you know the people's likes, if they like to read, sometimes you get some two different books for the husband and the wife, which is always nice. People always love to get that, the newest book that's on the market.
I never think about that one.
Oh, I always buy books because, and I also like to buy the new art books, because if you know people are interested in art, there's always a new one coming out, and it's very nice. And or some little kind of pottery thing. Did everybody see our cups that somebody sent us for the podcast, Kim? They've got our pictures on one. It's so cool. And then on this side, it says, keep calm and podcast. So I think something personalized sometimes is fun. You have to be a little creative, even making your own cookies and maybe wrapping it in a great basket. That's something that, wouldn't be, that the hostess wouldn't have made themselves. Can be really super.
Yeah. So someone wrote in that their significant other has only had one previous relationship and they're 30. Is that a red flag? I also want to ask, it's a similar question, because a friend asked me, they're seeing someone who's 26 who have never had a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So in either situation, if you're 30 and only had one, if you're 26 and had none, is that a red flag?
I don't know if it's a red flag, because maybe he was a little immature growing up, in his early 20s. It's a little strange, because usually somebody does have a couple of friends or relationships. Doesn't have to be relationships going out in college. But you know what? In this world, people are, everybody wants to do their own thing. Some people are not into relationships. They're really into perhaps their careers or finding themselves.
Yeah. But how can they be a good partner if they haven't had those experiences? Because you live and you learn. So if you're going to be their first girlfriend, there's a lot.
Their last.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I think there's a lot that they haven't encountered before, having never been in a relationship, that you might have to kind of, put the training wheels on. But a lot of people also like that. I joke all the time, because it's you can trick them because they don't know what's normal. So you can be yes, no, boyfriends all the time do their girlfriends' errands and massage them. And no, I'm joking, but you can kind of make your own rules.
I know, but you know what? If it's a nice
then
person,
they catch on.
Right. I'm sure they all catch on.
Yeah.
No one's giving you a massage all day long.
Right.
I really think that there's no hard, fast rule on this. If somebody is nice and hasn't had a boyfriend or a girlfriend and they're 26 years old, a little strange. However, if it's a nice person and you like him and he seems to like you, make it your first and last relationship. It's perfect. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's better When you've seen too many people, after a while, everyone gets jaded, and it ends up nobody likes anybody. So sometimes the innocent one is the right one to go with. That used to be our motto. We didn't know from having a million dates. We would
that's so interesting. Yours, it was probably better to be innocent than to be experienced, but now it's better to be experienced than to be innocent.
Yeah, well, it's a different time.
Yeah,
it's a different time.
Okay, two more. One person wrote in, how do you feel, this is mostly for you, Gail, about taking a man's last name when you get married, or can he take yours?
Well, I can't discuss what's being done today. In my generation, we took the man's name.
Did you know anyone who did differently?
No.
Yeah.
No. But I should honestly say,
even like if they were a doctor or
if
something?
they were a doctor or a lawyer, they generally took their husband's name, but in practice, then they used their maiden name.
Mm-hmm.
They did not, go under their married name. But when they were out with company or where they were entertaining themselves, they would always say Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just easier. I was listening to actually a different podcast the other day, and the girl was saying, like, when you're making hotel reservations, when you're like doing anything, you don't even think about like how easy it is to have the same last name, whether it's the man or the woman's, versus like different ones. Even like, when you call and say, try to change like a flight for your husband, they'll like question it more versus being like, well, I'm Mrs. Smith. So,
Well, I think though that's probably true.
Yeah.
The less information that's out there, the less confusing there is. I think that's the bottom line. But I think that's very individual. And I think women who have big careers today are definitely not going to take their husband's last name usually. But that's very, that's up to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I'm old fashioned. I would take it. But I guess you never know. Like let's say you're trying to think Angelina Jolie. She's not going to be Angelina Pitt.
Well, I think in the media, the media world is different.
Yeah, it's different.
But if we could talk about Michelle Obama, took Barack Obama's name. She certainly was an intelligent woman in her own right. Jill Biden, who's now the first lady, took her husband's name, and she's a doctor in her own right of letters.
True.
So I think for most cases, socially, it's right to take the husband's name, but for your professional career, you're certainly entitled to use your maiden name.
Or can he take her name?
I've never known anybody.
That's happening a lot.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's a new generation.
Totally.
Well, maybe if her name has got more clout, that's a good thing.
Yeah, true. Okay, lastly, how do you give a friend good relationship advice without giving too much of your opinion? Meaning, let's say you hate their boyfriend, but obviously you're not going to
keep it to yourself.
But can you give a friend relationship advice?
No. It won't be your friend anymore. I think you can generalize and talk about some generalities about what you think is good for dating. But once you get personal, and if it doesn't work out for her, or if it works against her relationship with her then partner or his partner, I think you're looking for trouble, and they'll always take the partner's side, and the friendship will probably end.
I give relationship advice all the time. Well, I mean, I am in a situation, not to toot my own horn, but I have a dating podcast called Excuse My Grandma.
That's true.
And a lot of my friends, for some reason, think that I am a relationship expert.
They think you're a psychologist.
Yes. I think, honestly, it's because I talk about it a lot. I talk to other people about relationships a lot. So I guess, have more data than others on it, and I'm opinionated, so I give my opinion a lot to my friends. I will never be like, your boyfriend sucks, but like, if someone's coming to me being like, what do I do? Like, I'm gonna tell them what I think they should do.
Well, that's all right, but I think you got to be very careful. There's a fine line to be drawn. If somebody is in a relationship, a serious relationship, you could say something, but not to criticize the boyfriend, or vice versa, or the girlfriend.
For my friends who are in long-term relationships, I tread super light.
Good.
If it's like a friend who's like, I hooked up with this guy twice and now he's ghosting me, like, I don't care. I'm gonna, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Then give your opinion.
Okay, and now for our 50s movie of the week, we wanted to do one related to travel.
Three Coins in the Fountain. That was a classic movie about three women looking for love and going to Rome, tossing their coins in the fountain and seeing what it would bring them. It's so magical. Rome is, of course, the most perfect city anyway for love, but it is a wonderful movie done just in a 50s style where everybody ends up with the right person. So it's a treat to watch. I absolutely suggest it to our viewers.
Wasn't there a song associated with it?
Three Coins in the Fountain.
How's it go?
3 coins in the fountain. Which
Beautiful.
one? I don't think Hollywood's coming to hear my
You never know. You never know who's listening.
I doubt that. They won't like this on my podcast, fans.
Okay, guys, that was another great episode of Excuse My Grandma. You know, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Excuse My Grandma. Check out our website, excusemygrandma.com. Send in all of your questions so we can answer them on the podcast. We love to hear from you.
Okay, bye, Kimmy. Have a good weekend.